Good morning, everybody. This is Sarah Smith on the Sarah Speaks podcast, coming to you again from the Iraqi Basin on a little walk with the puppies again. I've got them for the rest of today, and then the mummy and daddy and brother and sister were coming home, so I've had a good weekend with them. I hope you've had a good weekend wherever you've been this Labour weekend. It's certainly been stunning weather. And I thought I would take this opportunity to talk to you, continue our discussion on feminism and my thoughts around it. So today is part 2. In part 1, I touched on the idea that feminism has degraded the role of the mother, and it's made the gift of life and the gift of nurturing almost a dirty word. And I'd like to reinstate the role of the mother to its rightful place, which is a noble path, a noble journey, and it's certainly one worth pursuing for many reasons. One being that if we don't, who's going to continue the freedom fight that most of us here are, if not yet involved in? We're certainly learning about why it's important, and we need the next generation to continue that fight. So I urge young women and even women in their 30s to really consider becoming a mother and taking that role in earnest, I suppose. Yeah, taking it seriously, valuing it, valuing you as a mother, valuing your place in the world, shaping a young, developing consciousness. So yeah, we need to revalue our role as mothers, and we need to consider having children earlier in life for obvious biological reasons, also because of mental health reasons, because the longer we leave it, the harder it becomes. Once you've had that sense of independence and freedom and excess money, it's hard to then be at the beck and call of this helpless being that needs you on standby 24/7 in those initial months after birth. So that was the first episode, and now in this second episode I'd like to discuss the problems that feminism has caused between men and women, and how feminism as an agenda has been set out and has been pushed on the population as a way to create a war of the sexes, and it's disrupted the natural order of the family. And here in New Zealand, we were the first ones to give women the vote in the late 1800s, and it's my opinion that feminism was an experiment here in New Zealand, and I'll go back and actually do a more in-depth episode about that and about where those ideas came from and who was pushing them. But initially today I'll just keep it relatively general. So firstly, the media. They have been pushing for decades now the idea that men and women don't get along, that family is an arduous task and not really worth pursuing. And also that they've demonised men. You just need to look at the Homer Simpsons or the Al Bundys, how they just get portrayed as slobs and lazy and not stepping into their true masculine roles. And all the movies just constantly portraying the sad side of family life, motherhood, relationships. So the media, has driven a wedge between men and women. Secondly, politics. Women being pushed now to take on roles purely based on their gender, not because of their merit. That's become a huge issue, and you've got women taking positions on boards because they're women, in high-powered jobs, purely because apparently it's all about equality now, equality of opportunity. Does not, however, lead to equality of outcome. And just because you put women in those roles doesn't mean they're going to do a better job. However, the mainstream media would have you believe otherwise, because there's some fish down there. Oh, there's some big ones. Don't know if you can see those. They have been suggesting that female global leaders have handled the COVID response better than their male counterparts. So you're really starting to see mainstream media just really pushing this female agenda. And here in New Zealand we know it all too well with our political system, having had Helen Clark, our former Prime Minister, as I mentioned in the last podcast. For any of you who don't know, she was a feminist and has now gone on to work at the United Nations. And Jacinda Ardern. Oh, there's a jumping fish. And Judith Collins. There's so many women now in politics, and they love pushing the feminist ideology. And this, of course, naturally has an impact on men. If not only on a subconscious level, telling them basically that we can do it better. Don't know if you can see those fish, but I don't know what they are. I'm not really a fish expert. Maybe kahawai? That would be my guess. So you've got mainstream politics pushing feminism, you've got mainstream media pushing feminism, and Don't get me started on the education system and the feminism that they push there. Even just the lack of male teachers now creates a more feminised education structure. And in early childhood, it's PC gone mad with the constant narrative on the boys of gentle hands and the constant kind of subduing of little boys and just dulling down their energy and their vitality. And then you've just got in the workforce, men losing a lot of the work because women want the big power jobs. I mean, you won't see women going to do the truck driving jobs or the hard working jobs, the back breaking jobs. Come on. No, that's alright.
Yeah.
Come on, Pop.
Use the hook of your young girl, hey?
Come on. Come on.
Yeah, totally.
Good dogs. So yeah, that's, I suppose, in society how feminism has been affecting the relationship between men and women and creating that war. And then you've got on a psychological level, women now obviously having their own incomes, women not really wanting to be told what to do, the whole idea of girl power, that was very much big in the 90s when I was growing up. And yeah, it's just, women can do anything, women don't need a man. So all these subliminal messages that you get told that are really just they take men and women further and further apart rather than bringing us together. And what I've learned is, I can go out, I can work, I can earn my own income, I can pay my own bills, but I actually need a man. And I'm not saying I'm needy in terms of I need to be in a relationship, but what I mean is that men bring something to our lives as women. Morning. They stabilise us. Well, there's a train that's going to go past now, so I'll just wait for that before I keep speaking. So men bring amazing gifts. Not only, hopefully, if you want a family, they're good providers and they're good protectors, but they are also stabilizers. They're like our rocks. And like women, obviously we're emotional and we go up and down, and that's probably another part of the female makeup that a lot of women don't want to acknowledge. But yes, we do have hormones, and yes, they are affected at particular times of the month. And men have an amazing way of calming us down and reminding us what's important and being that strong sense of logic. And they anchor us when we start floating off. And I just think men are amazing, and women really, really underestimate how much they actually need them. So I really encourage women to really just sink into that and just accept that men are amazing. They help you with things. Men are so practical and they always want to fix things, and that's a wonderful attribute, and we need to honour them for that and appreciate them and accept that they are stronger than us physically, and they are generally speaking, better at fixing things and making things fit into certain spaces, that whole spatial relationship, and their brains just work differently, and it's something to be celebrated rather than belittled or put down. And my final point is the other way that men are degraded, or the relationship between men and women is challenged, is in the spiritual kind of awakening new age realm. And that is because women are being lifted up to be again, like as in politics, they are being lifted up to be the saviours of the human race. And they are being lifted up to be the leaders of the consciousness movement. And my argument is that whilst they profess to be putting the patriarchy in its place and righting wrongs of the past, and it's now women's time to rise up and we must all worship the goddess, I would argue that it's actually time for men and women to work together in harmony and side by side, and each standing in their strengths and each supporting the other one in their weakness, and each doing the work, the internal work, to become, self-realized beings where they've balanced the female and the male energies within the body, so that we can externalize ourselves to our best potential. So I also reject that notion of women being the leaders of the consciousness movement. It's another way that men get subtly degraded and pushed aside. And there's no reason why we can't all work together for freedom and peace and prosperity, and to bring in those aspects of truth, beauty and goodness. So that's my little second instalment on feminism. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'm going to enjoy this gorgeous day. It's so still down here this morning. Well, happy Labour Day, everybody, and look out for part 3 coming soon. All right, take care. Bye now.